This is the Play Your Position podcast, where we huddle up, call the plays, and inspire you to run your ball into the end zone. Are you ready to score more game-winning touchdowns in your life, business, and career? Then listen up, because it's game time, baby. Now, here's your host, Mary Lou Kaiser.
Hello, everyone. Mary Lou Kaiser here, host of the Play Your Position podcast. Welcome to today's episode of the show. As today's title implies, I'm going to be talking about a pretty heavy topic today, specifically dying. I'm recording this the day after the world learned about the death of the actor Matthew Perry, who was most famous for playing the character Chandler Bing on the show Friends. And millions of people are collectively grieving his death. And I wanted to start today's episode with a poem I wrote this morning as I was thinking about collective grief and just what happens when someone famous dies. So I'm going to read the poem and then I'll share some of my thoughts. I do want to preface this by saying I am not a mental health expert. I am just I am a person who cares a lot about people and personal growth. And I know that if you listen to this show regularly, you are somebody who is on a personal growth path. You take leadership seriously. And so if you are struggling with the, as we like to say, or refer to it as the darkness or the demons, please reach out to a professional mental health expert. There are plenty around. There's some amazing resources out there. I will include a couple in the show notes for you, because grief is real and it is not, we're not taught how to do it. One of my ways of doing it is writing, and I write a lot of poetry. I also write just reflective pieces. And so let me read this poem. This is a first draft, so I'll probably tweak it, but I did want to share it when it was fresh, just because I'm grieving in my own way. And it just got me thinking about, again, what happens when someone famous dies. So here is the poem. When someone famous dies. When someone famous dies, we like to think we knew them, or at least something about them, perhaps more than what was true. We look at their Instagram for clues. Was their death predicted? Did the person know? We like to think this person was our friend, but the truth is, we didn't know them. Not really. We didn't know the demons they faced each day or the depth of their struggle. We didn't understand what it was like to be them. We projected our own hopes and dreams, desires and wants, lived vicariously through the lens of their life, forgetting sometimes that, like us, they had to feel the ground beneath their own feet each day, that their job was to keep moving forward too. We cannot let the death of someone famous stop us from moving forward and shining our light. We can pause and collectively grieve. We can remember their smile and the way they made us laugh. We can only hope that in the wake of losing someone we felt we knew, we double down on our own futures and become even more aware of who we are right now than who we are meant to become. All right. So that is a rough draft of a poem. Like I said, I wrote this morning after scrolling through Matthew Perry's Instagram feed. Apparently, he died from drowning in a jacuzzi tub. That has not been confirmed. Comments on recent posts on his Instagram account suggest I'm not the only one who went there to look after hearing the sad news. And the last photo he posted of himself on Instagram is of him sitting in an outdoor jacuzzi tub with headphones on, looking off into the distance. The photo was taken at night, and you can barely see his face in the shadows. In the wake of his death, that photo takes on a particularly eerie meaning. It makes, I don't know. I mean, you've heard me talk on this show during interviews with people about the pluses and minuses of social media. And Instagram is such, we are living our lives on Instagram. And, people have died. Other people have died before, and I've gone to their Instagram page to look. I don't know why. It may be a morbid fascination I have. I don't know what that says about me, but I'm always curious, what was the last picture they posted? And it makes me think about my own life. Will Instagram, God willing that I have a long and healthy life, will Instagram still be around? Will it even matter? But right now it does. And when someone dies, especially when someone famous dies, we are going to go look at their last photo or the last few photos and, project meaning and interpretation to it. I'm guessing that he lived up in the hills above Los Angeles, and like so many other famous people who live in those hills, I imagine he gazed out at that city and asked himself questions about his life, like, how the fuck did I get here? And who am I? And what does being famous really mean when at the end of the day, I'm just one man who's fighting the fight, who's putting on the masks to make it another day? Then, of course, when someone famous dies, Instagram is suddenly awash in posts by people who knew the deceased famous person, who dated the deceased famous person, who loved the deceased famous person, who worked with the deceased famous person. Various links of commentary included. That is a way of grieving, certainly. Millions of us who love the show Friends and Chandler Bing, the character Matthew Perry played, we are collectively grieving right now. And I don't fault people for wanting to grieve this way, for wanting to post pictures of themselves with the deceased person from long ago or just last week. All right. Julia Roberts, she was one of the first posts I saw. Yesterday was her birthday, and he died on her birthday, and she dated him. The fact that he was only 54, it's hard to wrap my head around that. I learned about the news from my friend who lives in Orange County, California. She texted me. I had not heard yet. And I immediately went on to, onto the internet, and it had barely been 10 minutes. The news had just broken like 10 minutes earlier when she texted me. And I got to thinking about all those years of bringing so much laughter and joy to audiences around the world through his character, Chandler Bing. Friends was on the air for 10 years and has been in syndication for almost 25. I mean, it's amazing. It really is amazing to think about how many lives that show has influenced and inspired and just been a comfort. Those 6 actors who played characters, we could all relate to on one level or another, and they'll never share a stage again. They're of my generation, which I think is why the impact feels so much deeper. They've inspired my daughter's generation with their storylines. Some of the universal themes that they addressed on that show. You can still be okay even when things don't go the way you wanted them to, even when life is disappointing and sad, and you wonder if anything's going to work out. Even when you doubt yourself, you wonder, are you making the right decisions? That show exemplifies what it means to be human. Also, it gave us something to aspire to have friends, people who have our back, who accept us for who we are, who love us despite our flaws, even when we don't feel like we're being our best, right? Those 6 friends took us inside being human in a way no other show had before, and no show has done quite the same way since. And I say that's a really good mark of great literature. where the personal becomes universal. And the Friends did that. And Matthew Perry playing Chandler Bing did that. He gave us such a beautiful gift through his humor, through his transparency in the book he just released last year. The title of it is Friends, Lovers, and the Terrible Thing. I hadn't read it yet, so I'm going to listen to it. I just got it on Audible. Because the truth is, in a strange way, death wakes us up to life. Death wakes us up to life. Those of us who are still lucky to be here, a death like Matthew Perry's wakes us up to life. And ideally makes us a little bit more compassionate for the suffering that so many are experiencing right now. It makes us more aware of the dark places so many are living in right now. If I have one message for this episode today, it would be this. Hug the people you love just a little harder today. Let yourself feel the beautiful release of forgiveness today for the times your life hasn't always worked out, for the times when you haven't been your best, because none of us knows when we won't have another day. And I know this was a heavy topic, but like I said at the beginning of this recording, I think a lot of us are grieving right now for the loss of one of our fictional friends. Certainly for the loss of a man who fought a lot of demons inside himself. Someone we felt we knew, someone we cheered for, and someone who will continue to shine his light in the world through his extensive body of work that not only makes us think, but also makes us laugh. And it's all the more reason to shine our light that much brighter today. So team, that's what I encourage you to do. Be a light for yourself first and for everyone you come in contact with. I think that's what he would want from all of us.
Here at the Play Your Position podcast, we believe that the road to self-mastery and a life well lived starts with answering the call to leadership. That's when the fun really begins. Send this episode to any friends who might need to hear the inspiration and ideas you heard today. And feel free to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform.